Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Yeah, always exciting to, jump into some new material.
Definitely. And this week, we've got a really interesting collection of sources all about self-improvement and entrepreneurship and relationships, even finances, all these different pieces of the puzzle of modern life, you could say.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is how interconnected these topics actually are.
Yeah, I mean, at first glance, you might think, okay, what does starting a business have to do with, my relationship with myself or with my partner?
Right, exactly. But as we dig into these articles and podcasts, we see these common threads emerge, these underlying principles that apply across all these different areas.
Well, I'm excited to uncover those threads. So where should we start?
Well, I think it's fitting that even though Valentine's Day just passed, we start with the theme of love.
Oh, love, always a good place to start.
Right, especially self-love. Several of our sources really emphasize this idea not just as a feel-good concept, but as a crucial foundation for success in all areas of life.
Okay, so not just hearts and flowers, but like a practical element to self-love.
Exactly. And Shakti Gawain, in her article, How to Love Yourself This Valentine's Day and Every Day, puts it really well.
What did she say?
She argues that our relationship with ourselves is the most important one we have, and it directly influences all our other relationships.
So if I'm looking to improve my relationships with others, I should start by looking inward at my relationship with myself.
Exactly. She suggests that as we learn to love and accept ourselves, we naturally attract love and appreciation from others.
That's a powerful idea.
It is. And, it makes you wonder if the key to finding that fulfilling romantic relationship actually starts with cultivating a strong sense of self-love first.
Oh, that's a really interesting thought. And it reminds me of something we came across on Optimal Living Daily, episode 3495, all about self-compassion.
Oh, yes, that was a great episode.
Yeah, the guest Tanya Lester used a really interesting analogy to explain this concept.
I love a good analogy. It always helps me grasp these ideas better.
Me too. What was her analogy?
She compared the way we treat ourselves to how we'd treat a scared rescue cat. Imagine this timid, vulnerable creature needing gentle care.
Mm.
We instinctively offer kindness and reassurance to that animal, right? But we often struggle to extend that same compassion to ourselves.
Yeah, that's so true. We're often our own worst critics, way harsher on ourselves than we would ever be on a helpless animal or even a loved one.
Exactly. And the episode went on to say that, this self-criticism that many of us think is the path to success, it's actually not.
Really?
Yeah, instead practicing self-soothing techniques, being kind to ourselves can help build resilience and allow us to face challenges with more clarity and strength.
So instead of beating ourselves up when we make a mistake, we should be offering ourselves understanding and support.
Exactly. It's a total mindset shift, but a really powerful one.
Okay, so for everyone listening, think about how you react when you mess up. Do you berate yourself or do you offer yourself understanding?
That's such a crucial question to ask yourself.
It is. Now, shifting gears a bit, another theme that emerged from these sources was the evolving nature of relationships in the modern world.
Yes, this article, Love Gone Convenient, Unraveling the Pros and Cons of Relationships of Convenience, really caught my attention.
Relationships of convenience. What does that even mean?
Well, it's about this growing trend of relationships built on practicality rather than, traditional romantic love.
It sounds like a product of our fast-paced, hyper-efficient society.
It does, doesn't it? It makes you wonder if convenience is becoming the dominant force in our personal lives as well.
Interesting. What kind of questions does the article raise?
Well, it asks, are we prioritizing practicality over passion? What are the potential benefits and drawbacks of this shift?
Those are big questions. And it's not just about romantic relationships, right? This idea of convenience seems to be permeating all kinds of relationships, friendships, family dynamics, even work relationships.
Absolutely. It's everywhere.
It makes you wonder if this focus on convenience is ultimately leading to more fulfilling relationships, or if it's hindering our ability to forge those really meaningful connections.
That's the million-dollar question, and I don't know that there's an easy answer.
Right. It's a conversation worth having, for sure.
Definitely. And speaking of navigating relationships, there's another article that I think is really relevant here. Conflict can create connection if you know how to channel it.
Oh, that sounds interesting, especially given our conversation about how relationships are changing.
Right. This article emphasizes the importance of learning to navigate conflict constructively in any relationship.
So conflict isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Not at all. It's all about how we approach it.
So whether it's a romantic partnership, a friendship, or a professional collaboration, understanding how to address disagreements effectively can actually strengthen the bond.
Exactly. It's a skill that takes practice and intentionality, but it can transform our relationships and our lives.
Okay, so from matters of the heart, let's move on to matters of the wallet. We also have some really fascinating insights on financial freedom and wealth building this week.
Yes, this is a topic that I think a lot of people find intimidating or overwhelming, but these sources offer some fresh perspectives.
I'm all ears. What did we learn?
Well, episode 3496 of Optimal Living Daily really stood out to me. It features Mr. Money Mustache, who's a well-known figure in the financial independence community.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him. What did he have to say?
He shared this great anecdote about being stranded in Houston due to a flight delay.
Oh, that sounds stressful.
You'd think so, right? But instead of getting frustrated by this travel nightmare, he used it as an opportunity to practice stoicism and resourcefulness.
He found the silver lining in a flight delay. That's impressive.
Right. He viewed the situation as a challenge to overcome and embraced it with a positive attitude. He even talked about the humidity in Houston not as a nuisance, but as a chance to improve his heat tolerance.
Wow. He really walks the walk.
He does. And this story perfectly encapsulates his core message. True wealth isn't just about luxury. It's about cultivating habits and perspectives that lead to financial independence and freedom, even in the face of challenges.
So it's about more than just the numbers in your bank account. It's about having the right mindset.
Exactly. It's about building a life that is both financially secure and personally fulfilling.
I love that. It's not just about accumulating wealth. It's about building a life of meaning and purpose.
Exactly. Now let's move on to a topic that's closely intertwined with financial freedom, entrepreneurship, and achieving goals.
Okay, so for those of us who dream of starting our own businesses or just accomplishing those big, ambitious goals, where do we even begin?
Well, that's where these sources come in. They offer practical advice, inspiring stories, and thought-provoking perspectives to help you on your journey.
Sounds like we've got a lot to unpack.
We do. Let's dive in. So let's start with someone who's become almost synonymous with entrepreneurship and productivity, Tim Ferriss.
Author of The 4-Hour Workweek, right?
That's the one. And in a recent blog post, he actually revisits some of the ideas from that book and challenges some traditional thinking around time management.
Oh, interesting. What does he say?
The post is called The 4-Hour Workweek Revisited: The End of Time Management, #795. And he basically suggests that instead of rigidly scheduling every minute of our day, we should focus on identifying and prioritizing the tasks that truly matter.
Okay, so not just trying to cram more into our already packed schedules.
Exactly. It's about working smarter, not harder, aligning our actions with our values and goals.
I like that. And that actually ties in with what we were talking about earlier with self-love, right? It's all about being intentional with our time and energy and making choices that support our overall well-being.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears a bit to the world of online business, we came across some valuable insights from Sue Patz, who was featured on the Success Grid podcast.
Oh yeah, Supat, she's great. She helps people launch and scale digital products, right?
That's right. And she had some really interesting advice for anyone looking to grow an online business.
Like what?
Well, she emphasized the importance of building an email list, creating engaged membership communities, and collaborating with other entrepreneurs.
Sounds like she's a big believer in community.
She is. She believes that building strong relationships with your audience and collaborating with others in your industry can be just as important as having a great product.
Makes sense. In today's digital landscape, it's all about connection, right?
Exactly. Now, for some more practical advice on goal setting, there's a great article called Crush Your Goals in 2024, a step-by-step guide to conquering your ambitions.
That sounds promising.
It is. It stresses the importance of setting clear, specific goals and then creating a detailed plan to achieve them.
So like a roadmap to success.
Exactly. And this guide provides some really actionable steps to help you break down your goals into manageable chunks and stay motivated along the way.
Okay, so we've got the practical side covered. What about the more personal side of goal setting?
Well, we found a really inspiring blog post by Warren Wong called Progress Report 3.
Tell me about it.
Warren actually decided to reassess his life and goals after making a significant career change and taking a sabbatical.
Wow, that's a big shift.
It is, and he shares his journey of self-discovery and the steps he's taking to create a life that truly aligns with his newfound priorities.
It's always inspiring to hear stories like that, people who have the courage to make those big changes and follow their own path.
It is, and it's a good reminder that it's never too late to reassess our goals and make adjustments to our course.
Totally. Now, for something a bit more practical for our listeners who are already running online businesses, we came across a tool called Seller 365, the all-in-one toolkit that makes online selling easier.
Oh yeah, that one caught my eye too.
What's it all about?
It's basically a platform that bundles all the essential functions you need to run an online business into one affordable package.
Okay, so streamlining things.
Exactly. It helps with things like listing products, managing inventory, processing payments, and tracking sales all in one place.
Sounds like a real time saver for busy entrepreneurs.
It does, and I think it reflects this broader trend of trying to make entrepreneurship more accessible and manageable.
Which is great because starting and running a business can feel incredibly incredibly overwhelming.
Absolutely. Now let's shift our focus to the theme of overcoming challenges and finding fulfillment.
Because let's face it, life is full of challenges, right?
It is, but it's how we navigate those challenges that ultimately determines our happiness and success.
So where do we start?
Well, we found some great advice from Alain Guillot, a seasoned business owner who shares his wisdom in a couple of articles, 5 things to steer clear of in business, and help your employees to help you with these simple tips.
Okay, so practical tips from someone who's been there, done that.
Exactly. And one of his biggest pieces of advice is to treat your employees well.
Makes sense. Happy employees make for a happy business.
Exactly. He argues that prioritizing people, both employees and customers, is not just ethically sound, but it's also good business practice.
I love that perspective.
And then in another article called The Price of Living Your Own Life is Letting Go of Others' Approval, he touches on the theme that's so relevant to all of us.
What's that?
It's about letting go of the need for constant validation from others.
Hmm. That's a tough one.
It is, but he argues that to truly live authentically and pursue our passions, we can't be constantly seeking approval from everyone around us.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in what other people think.
It is, but ultimately, it's our life and we need to make choices that feel right for us.
Okay, so embracing our individuality and not being afraid to go against the grain.
Exactly. Now, for a couple more unique perspectives on finding balance and fulfillment, we have 2 sources that use some interesting analogies.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
The first one is called Harness the Battery Effect to Transform Life's Tensions into Your Greatest Strength. And it uses the analogy of a battery to explain how we can channel the energy of challenges and turn them into sources of strength.
Oh, that's interesting. How does that work?
Well, the author argues that just like a battery stores energy, we can actually store the energy of difficult experiences and use it to fuel our growth.
So instead of viewing challenges as setbacks, we can see them as opportunities for learning and growth.
Exactly. It's about reframing our perspective.
I like that.
And then the other source we found is called Quadrafit Theory, Jaspreet Singh's formula for health, wealth, and happiness.
Quadrafit theory, what's that all about?
It's basically a holistic approach to well-being that emphasizes the interconnectedness of 4 key areas of life: health, wealth, relationships, and purpose.
So it's not just about achieving success in one area, it's about creating a balanced and fulfilling life overall.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that all aspects of our lives are intertwined and that neglecting one area can have a negative impact on the others.
That makes a lot of sense.
It really is. And it's fascinating how these sources manage to provide such practical advice while also prompting us to think about the bigger picture, what truly matters in life.
Yeah, it's a great combination. And speaking of practical skills, there's one article that might seem a little out of place, but I think it actually offers some valuable insights.
Which one is that?
It's called Planning a Group Trip Checklist. Everything you need.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Right. It might not seem directly related to self-improvement or entrepreneurship, but when you think about the skills involved, it's actually quite relevant.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Setting a budget, making decisions, coordinating with different personalities, anticipating potential problems.
Yeah, it's like a crash course in project management.
Exactly. And those are transferable skills that can benefit you in all areas of life, from managing your personal finances to leading a team at work.
So even something as simple as planning a group trip can be a valuable learning experience.
Definitely. Now, to lighten things up a bit, we also came across a source that injected some humor into this deep dive.
Oh, good. I love a good laugh. What was it?
It's a collection of funny friendship quotes, 115 funny friendship quotes, hilarious humor for your best friend.
Okay, so how do funny quotes about friendship tie into everything we've been talking about?
Well, I think it's a reminder that even amidst all the serious stuff, self-love and navigating complex relationships, there's always room for lightness and joy.
Laughter's the best medicine, right?
It really is. And it's not just about laughing with others. It's about learning to laugh at ourselves, too. Cultivating a sense of humor about our imperfections can be a huge step towards self-acceptance and self-love.
Yeah, that's so true. When we can laugh at ourselves, it takes the pressure off.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up, I want to address one point of confusion that we often see around self-esteem and self-confidence.
Oh yeah, a lot of people use those terms interchangeably, but they actually have distinct meanings, right?
They do, and the article Self-Esteem versus Self-Confidence, 5 Key Differences You Must Know About, breaks it down really well.
So what's the difference?
Basically, self-esteem is about your overall sense of worth as a person, while self-confidence is about your belief in your abilities in specific situations.
So you could have high self-confidence in your public speaking abilities, for example, but still struggle with low self-esteem?
Exactly. And the article emphasizes that building genuine self-confidence often starts with addressing any underlying self-esteem issues. It's like building a house on a solid foundation.
That makes sense. If you don't believe in yourself at your core, it's hard to feel truly confident in any area of your life.
Exactly. And this connects back to everything we've discussed about self-love and self-compassion. When you treat yourself with kindness and respect, you nurture your self-esteem, which can then lead to greater confidence in all areas of your life.
Wow, so it all comes full circle.
It does, and I think that's a powerful takeaway for our listeners. Working on one aspect of yourself can have a ripple effect on all the others.
It's inspiring to think that small changes in one area can lead to positive transformations across our entire lives. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage you to reflect on these insights and consider how you can apply them to your own journey of self-improvement.
Personal growth is an ongoing process. There's always something new to learn, a new challenge to overcome, a new level of fulfillment to achieve.
So keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep into the things that matter most to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.